Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews. We're here another week. We are here to do what we always do, review movies, expose wickedness, and seek to display truth, beauty, and goodness in stories, and do so for the honor and glory of Christ. I'm here with my co-host, Tobiah. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
And my name is Trent, which I didn't say.
Yep. Yep. Got another movie for you guys as always. Working our way through the MCU multiverse. And we are in I think 2004 now. I think we're in 2004.
Are you sick of superhero movies now? At least for now.
Just about.
Because I am.
Just about. Yep.
Especially this one. Okay. Not to jump the gun. But,
well,
what movie are we reviewing?
We are reviewing Blade Trinity.
Blade Trinity, the third.
But
Blade.
Yeah, I think it's
3 heroes. What? You think it's what?
I was just saying that I think it's interesting that we are starting to, like, our taste in movies, I think, is changing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a good thing.
Yes.
I think that's, part of the goal of this podcast is to get people's taste to change in what they watch and know when they are watching bad movies. And people's taste does need to change, and they need to watch good movies, not bad movies. And
yeah, and not necessarily just to be more critical, but to be critical and to just watch what you're consuming and to be mindful when you do watch films and to consume good things and know when you're consuming bad things, but also know like when you need to spit the bones out and just get the meat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. This has definitely helped me get to that point as well, where I'm a lot more careful of what I watch, but also, or not necessarily more careful, but just more aware or observant when I go into a film. I think about it more objectively instead of subjectively. It's like okay, there's some things I can enjoy about a movie like Blade Trinity, as far as like superhero action, vampire killing, such and such. But then we get into the actual film and start breaking it down scene by scene, and it's like, this movie has so many problems.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we can hop right into the story here. I mean, right off the bat, we kind of get an introduction to our villain, and then right after that, we get our hero and his problems. We already know who the hero is because this is the third movie in this trilogy. So, our main hero. We can kind of get into the introductions of the other heroes. Yeah, I know. But we get introduced to the villain Dracula right away.
Drake.
I always forget that the villain is Dracula in this movie.
So you've seen this before?
Once. This is my second time.
I've never seen it.
I watched it this. I watched it this year last year for Halloween. We watched all 3.
Oh yeah,
Blades,
you told me that. Yeah,
which is interesting. So like these 3 movies, like they were made like between the first one and the third one. It was quite a few years between them being made, but I feel like the quality didn't really increase at all.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this one has like
we can
that
kind of get into that later
vibe. But... Yeah, I mean, I feel like the second one was the most high quality of the 3 because you can tell that they. I mean, So I looked at the budgets. This one had the highest budget of the 3.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
Because they were able to put
a lot of
money
that
into it as you get into your third film.
Yeah.
And
the actors are getting paid more, and everybody involved is getting paid more.
And then this one, pretty
studied cast. I feel like they put all their budget into all the explosions in the first quarter of the movie.
Yeah,
it was like explosion after explosion after explosion.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on?
It was a lot.
And then it just kind of ended, and then there wasn't much action after that. I was like, what in the world just happened?
Right.
But yeah, so we get introduced to Dracula right away. Kind of. I mean, we get introduced to the girl villain, and then how she's like resurrecting Dracula. I mean, he was just buried alive, I guess, and
Right.
then
Was able to resurrect
out.
him. Did they
I
even
don't
say
know.
how they resurrected him?
If they did, it wasn't very clear.
Well, because there was that scene in the
didn't really-
beginning where those men go in and he's resurrected. I can't remember what they did. Did they? I think they did something.
It wasn't the men. Well, it's that girl villain, like the girl villain that's
yeah.
there the whole time. She was the one that resurrected him.
Oh, okay.
But she didn't really do anything. She was just there, and then they found there's like, yeah, there's a body underneath us, and then all of a sudden he woke up and attacked them.
Sure.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It didn't make much sense. But
Did they say at the beginning that it was Dracula? Because I didn't catch it was Dracula until like later on when they actually said it was Dracula. Like when they first introduced him. I can't remember.
I think they mentioned it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe not the very first time, but when he was out and about, like they.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Well, they were making the very clear like nods to him being Dracula, but I think they said it in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like first like couple scenes of the film. So I don't know. Anyways.
Well, didn't it start out with a monologue about Dracula?
No, it was a monologue about Blade by Ryan Reynolds. He was just kind of like talking about the legend of Blade in a sense. He was doing his Wade Wilson impersonation.
Yeah. No, he was Wade Wilson in this movie.
He was counterfeit Wade Wilson.
He was just Ryan Reynolds in this movie.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, pretty much.
That's all he was.
Yeah.
Yes. You want to kind of get more into the story here? And,
I mean,
what were some of your
so
thoughts?
they resurrect Dracula.
Things you were
like, if you're it's the third Blade movie. You know, we've had the Frost, the first one. He was all right. The second one was, I don't even remember who the villain was in the second one.
It was like the mutant.
Yeah.
Okay. Vampire, and so like the vampires and him had to join forces to kill him.
Right.
And it was actually the vampire that created the other one was a really old vampire guy that it was like his son or whatever, and so yeah, just all that.
Yeah, and so like it makes sense that you're gonna bring Dracula into this. Like it'd be an understandable third movie villain. I was just really underwhelmed
for sure
by everything about him. He also was.
Yeah,
he's Dracula, like the most intimidating. You know, the vampire of all vampires. You know, he's the first vampire. They even say that in this film. He was the first one, and for some reason he's not, or he's immune to sunlight. That didn't make any sense. But
yeah,
because I am the first, I am unique. Okay. And he had like a couple scenes where he kind of showed that he was imposing and intimidating, but like he like runs from Blade multiple times. He has the whole thing. The scene with the baby was so dumb.
Yeah,
he was holding the baby over the edge for whatever reason instead of just fighting Blade, and then.
Well, I think they're attempting a save the cat moment for Blade.
You think
they probably got all the criticism from the last two movies that he wasn't very personable, and then they're like, "Oh, I guess we could do a save the cat moment."
Probably even less personable in this one than the other two.
Yeah, I know.
So he throws the baby, or he's like, "Catch," and then throws the baby and then disappears, and then Blade catches the baby, and he says, "Goo goo gaga" or something.
Oh yeah, Gucci goo. Yeah, I think that's what he says.
It's like whatever. It's just I feel like it's so out of character for him. And I get it. Like they're trying. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to give him that superhero quirkiness, and I think they have a little bit of that in the comics. But it just doesn't work with Wesley Snipes, and it's not consistent, and it's really random when he does it, and doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It has not worked for me in these three movies. It was maybe a little bit better in the first one, but I don't know. Anyways, Dracula, like you would think, I was thinking, okay, it's Dracula. Okay, they're probably like they're not gonna get this wrong. Like I'm assuming this is gonna be a good villain, and no, and like even when we're introduced to him, and then as you watch the movie and follow the story, which there's many different plot threads going everywhere, and it's really confusing. And there's not like a really straightforward story. But Dracula's like hunting them down, and or his men capture Ryan Reynolds, and they have to go get Dracula, or go rescue Ryan Reynolds and the girl, and everything. And I don't know. There was never a moment where I was like, "Oh, Dracula's like an actual legit threat to these heroes." Because like I said, even then on the scene on the roof, throws the baby, and then he runs away. It's like, why? And then I think there's another scene where he is confronted with Blade, and then he ends up running away again. And it's just, okay.
Yeah. No, one thing I was actually surprised about in this movie is how short it was. It was less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think it was an hour and 50 minutes or something. And like that, and the reason like we didn't get anything with the villain is because they introduced the other two heroes, and they had two heroes that they introduced, had to bring them all together, all these things. And so there's just no time to, I mean, they could have made it, maybe another hour long and could have worked all that out, but it was actually shorter than the other two movies, which is just weird to me.
Yeah.
Like it could have been another 35 minutes, a 2.5 hour movie. And it should have been with all the other characters they introduced. They just didn't have, I think, the time to. I shouldn't say they didn't have the time. They did have the time, and they didn't utilize it, and they just went with a short movie. And I just thought it was weird.
This is kind of a side tangent, but I don't know if you've heard about how much of a mess this movie was to make. There was a bunch of conflict between mostly Wesley Snipes and the director. Wesley Snipes, he did not like the direction the movie was going. He didn't like how his character was being portrayed. He didn't like that he was basically sidelined in his third movie. Apparently, he gets really meta, especially in this role, but in a lot of his other roles. Or meta, I meant method. He gets into method acting. I don't know why I said meta.
Yeah,
he's a method actor, and so like even on set, Patton Oswalt did some interviews where he said that in order to talk to Wesley Snipes, you had to call him Blade, and you had to only refer to him as Blade. And he was always super serious, and he would wear sunglasses all the time, and just act like Blade would normally act. Off when the camera's off. So that was kind of annoying for people, and him and the director just didn't get along. Apparently, the director came out later on after the movie was made and said that Wesley Snipes made the whole thing just a living hell. Basically, like he would lock himself in his trailer for days upon end and just make them use his stunt double for a lot of the scenes. And whenever he had to have a close up scene, he'd come out and do that and then go away and then basically make them use his stunt double for most of the scenes in the movie. And he just never took anything seriously and didn't like the movie or where it was going and didn't care. But then apparently Wesley Snipes, after the film was released, he actually sued the studio for something, I think for sidelining him in his own movie and not doing. There was a lot of things that were promised to him about this film that didn't come to fruition, and I don't know where that lawsuit ended up going, but there was just a mess back and forth. There was faults on both sides, I'm sure, but he seemed to be a pain to work with. But the director also seemed to kind of be a pain as well. Anyways, you can kind of tell that Wesley Snipes isn't super into his role in this film. And granted, he was a little more into it in the second one, and I guess the first one. Though I think I had that complaint when we reviewed those movies as well. But with this one, you can tell I think he was just kind of over it and done.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure.
And then apparently he didn't like Ryan Reynolds because Ryan Reynolds was too goofy or too quirky.
They weren't even in very many scenes together.
Well, yeah, probably because Wesley Snipes didn't want to be in any scenes with him.
Yeah.
And the ones that he is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Ryan Reynolds, his character isn't introduced till
a little bit
pretty far into the movie, or at least it felt pretty far. Do you know when he was introduced?
Well, it was when they rescued Blade from the cops.
Like, was it? Yeah.
When he was being interrogated.
How long do you think it was into the movie?
It was about 30, 40 minutes.
Okay, it was. Okay. yeah, so it took a long time, and then once he was in the movie,
He was in
his
the movie.
story arc was
Oh, sorry.
yeah. I was gonna say, well, yeah, he was in the movie like a lot, but his story was he was locked up with the by the vampires for most of it,
A long time, yeah. And it's just the
and
back and forth.
so I just
and
feel
him
like
being interrogated
his
and
arc,
making
yeah, he just didn't have an
crude
arc at
jokes.
all. I felt, and
Oh no,
yeah,
no. He didn't have an arc. He didn't have any character. The girl kind of did because. Okay, please explain this to me. How do we know? How did we find out that she was Whistler's daughter? Because Blade randomly makes a comment and says, "Oh, so I guess you're Whistler's daughter," and that was it.
because Ryan Reynolds' character called her Whistler,
Oh,
so it's like her last name.
that was it.
So Whistler's
he
his
said
last
that, and then
name.
he's like, "Oh, so
Yeah.
it is."
Yeah, that was it.
Did Blade know that Whistler's daughter was alive? Because what we know is that I'm
No.
pretty sure what we know is that they're all dead. That his family was killed by vampires.
Yeah, they explained it. She said that I was born out of wedlock.
I know
and,
they explained it later, but when Blade found out,
it was later. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was.
Blade just finds
then.
out. He's like, "Oh,
so I guess they
you're
just
Whistler's
waited.
daughter," and then that's it.
Yes.
Also, Whistler.
I
Am I
guess.
saying his name right?
I guess
Whistler,
they just
right?
decided to.
Whistler.
Yeah.
Whistler. For some reason, they can't stop killing him. I thought
I know,
thought for sure
Whistler-
this time that he was going to survive. Like I thought they
That-
didn't
it was
even give
so
him a meaningful
dumb.
death, and or like I don't even think they really showed him actually dying, and then all of a sudden
No, so that was
he's
the
actually
dumbest scene ever. So he's just like introduced in the beginning of this movie.
Right.
He dies like 15, 20 minutes in.
dead. Yeah.
And after he had already died in the first one, resurrected in the second one,
Yeah,
and then he
almost
dies
died in the
right
second
away in
one
this
as well.
one.
Yeah.
It made no sense. I don't. They should
I
have
was
just
like-
sidelined
I
him
was
and
waiting
not
for
even
him to
had him
show
in
up.
it.
I was like, "There's no way he's
I know.
dead." Like they would have given him
So
more.
yeah, well
meaningful death.
he was in the building, and there's a huge explosion.
Oh, okay.
And
sure,
he was like
people
tied
survive
up
explosions
with
all
the
the time.
vampires, and there's a huge explosion. But there, one thing about that scene that I thought was so funny was one of the detectives was like on his radio after the giant explosion. So this was like all those explosions I was telling you about in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
This was one of them. I think this was the last explosion, and it was just a huge. It just kept like exploding. Like they just like when they in the older movies they would like explode something, but then they would cut a little bit back and then show it again, and then but they just would not stop showing it. And then after this big old explosion finally ends, the detective is on the radio and he's like, "What's going on in there? Somebody talk to me."
Yeah.
And it was right after this giant explosion
It's stupid.
that happened right in front of
Yeah.
me. "What's going on in
I
there?
remember
Somebody
saying, like,
talk to
"What
me."
are you
Those are the
talking
exact
about?
words. Yeah. What do you mean what's going on in there? The building just
Everyone's
exploded. Everyone's dead. Somebody talk to me.
Oh man, the dialogue in this film
But
is
that-
awful.
Yeah, but that just set the mood for the rest of the movie after that.
Yeah, well,
scene.
all the detectives
like that was
they were
just this
annoying.
movie.
Yeah, the detectives had terrible.
Well, and then
lines,
they ended
terrible
up
delivery.
being what do they call them? Normies or whatever. They're not
familiars.
normies, but
Well, one of them was
familiars.
right.
Oh, I thought they all were.
No, it was just the guy that
It was just, oh, it's just the
doctor
one.
guy that was
Oh, okay.
interrogating,
Yeah.
or that came
Yeah.
in afterwards. He was the
Oh,
only
okay,
one,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure, because the guy at the end of the film, when he sees, spoiler alert, Blade, not Blade, actually Dracula, dead in that building, that guy,
Yeah.
he was like a normal detective. I don't think he was
Oh,
familiar.
okay.
But-
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. I think. Yeah. That's the guy that
yeah,
asked, "What's going on in there?"
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, Ryan Reynolds, Hannibal King, he's a comic book character, and they're part of the
Okay.
what are they called, the team, like the girl and him and then everyone else, I can't remember, whatever they call themselves, something, they're like a superhero team kind of thing who hunt vampires.
Oh. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's a comic book thing as well. I can't remember. But anyways, Hannibal King, played by Ryan Reynolds. He's just a goofball, and makes a lot of crude jokes, and I never really found him that funny. But anyways, and apparently, so like up to this point, Ryan Reynolds hadn't really
Night Stalkers.
Night Stalkers, yeah, Night Stalkers.
Yeah.
So Ryan Reynolds hadn't really done any action films, I'm pretty sure, or at least not a whole lot. He did a lot of rom-coms.
Yeah.
He was in that TV show and like a drama TV show and whatnot. So he never did really much action. So people were actually pretty shocked when they found out he was cast for this role as like a vampire killer in an action film with Blade. But he got ripped for it. He went in complete superhero. Went through the superhero workout regimen, and like I think did a good job for what he was given. Like I said, like he was kind of like discount Wade Wilson or his audition for Wade Wilson, which he would eventually get later on. He was basically playing Deadpool in this film.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, he had no arc.
Yeah.
I was saying way back earlier when I rabbit trailed, whatever her name is, Whistler's daughter, Abigail. I think Abigail. We're going to go with Abigail. She, we find out she's Whistler's daughter, and we kind of give her a little bit of an arc because, her dad dies, and she has that emotional scene where she's breaking down, and then I guess I don't know what was her arc?
I don't really think she had.
I don't think she had an arc. I mean, they tried to give her some stuff, like even that scene where that one of her partners dies. A scene that she had a lady, or that lady, the blind lady. I don't think they had any really dialogue in the whole film, or like any interaction in the whole film, and all this, and then she dies, and then she's like completely broken up over it, like even more than she was broken up about her dad dying. Like she was like devastated, and then Blade's like, let it out, or use that, like use it, like use the anger, and then she screams, and then and whatnot. So he wanted her to like use that anger to go take revenge and go kill the vampires, or go kill Dracula and whatnot.
Yeah.
And anyways, that was like it. I mean, they tried to give her something. But you're right. She didn't have an arc. Ryan Reynolds didn't have an arc. Blade, did he have an arc? I don't think so.
Not a very good one. I mean, I didn't even write anything in the character development section. I wasn't even sure.
Wasn't really
if there's anything. It's just the same thing.
What's his struggle in this?
He's just out there killing vampires and and
they introduced like more of the human element, as far as like the humans, the people are kind of finding out who Blade is, or no, he's being more outspoken about, like he's trying to tell everyone that there's vampires for some reason.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's trying to get the world to understand that vampires exist, and
which I feel like was kind of out of character.
Yeah, he's just continuing his fight with them, and I feel like it's just the same struggle he's had. Like there's a little bit of struggle, I think, at the end, or they kind of like were talking about it with his struggle with like, still being a vampire, like part vampire,
fighting against that thirst.
Yeah, fighting against the thirst, and like when at the very end when he defeats Dracula, or she defeats Dracula, I should say. But
well, it was actually
Dracula
actually
says, yeah,
because she shoots
with
the
a lot
arrow.
of help from her. Yeah.
I was actually kind of okay with it because like they didn't have her be the one that killed him. She shoots the arrow, and Dracula is able to catch it.
Right,
Blade's the one that actually stabs him and kills him.
Because Dracula just says, the thirst always wins, or whatever, or the thirst always takes over,
and then
in
he
the
dies.
end, or something like that. And then he dies. But it was just weird, and it didn't make much sense, honestly.
No. But they didn't give him,
like I was saying, there just wasn't any story,
an arc. They didn't. There was
or a struggle, or
yeah.
He didn't overcome anything.
No.
He was just the same old Blade from all the movies, and I just feel like he's literally the exact same he was in the first movie into this movie. Like there just wasn't any change. he's not a different character by this point or nothing. Like I'm thinking of like other superhero movies and like think of like Iron Man from the first movie to Iron Man in the
third.
Well, maybe not the third
Or
movie,
even
but like
Infinity War.
the Avengers and stuff.
I
And
mean, I think even Iron Man 3, like, yeah, he has
yeah,
he
he's
has a
just
good
not
arc.
the same person at all. Yeah,
Right.
and Captain America and
Spider-Man, which
so there just wasn't any change in him. I think they really struggled, and it just with all the struggles with this movie and having all these characters, they just didn't take the time to work through Blade's character. I feel like they just spent so much time introducing these other characters and trying to make it interesting and funny and something different from the first two movies, like with having Ryan Reynolds be such a jokester, but he's honestly just vulgar and not funny the whole time.
right. Yeah, and they tried
Yeah,
to do
definitely
so
to
much.
lighten it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to lighten it up. They tried to do so much of this movie, introducing, obviously, the two new main characters, the Night Stalkers, and then Dracula, but also the vampires, and then the whole plot to use Dracula to take over the world or whatever. But then the Night Stalkers also have a way to kill all vampires, so they need Dracula's blood. And
what they should have done is introduced Dracula as the big bad in the first movie and worked it up to this movie, and that would have been awesome.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean, or even
because a villain like that,
one and done like a 2 and 3, like one trilogy that does that kind of thing really well was the Pirates of the Caribbean movies that I really love. Well, I mean, kind of, because they don't introduce Davy Jones until the second one, but that's just thinking of like a good villain. You have a first movie, but you don't know if you're going to be able to make another movie, if it's going to be successful. But like the first Pirates of the Caribbean, great movie, and they have that little tease at the end with Barbossa being alive, but then the second one, you introduce Davy Jones, and then you don't kill him off in the second movie. You let him go on and survive, and then he's the villain for the third movie and whatnot. That just popped in my head as like a way that you could do that. Like, so I was thinking like maybe at the end of the first movie you introduce Dracula, then the second movie he's a villain, and you kind of do like Empire Strikes Back thing with the bad guys kind of win at the end. Same thing with Dead Man's Chest at the end of that one. Davy Jones is pretty much won. Jack Sparrow's dead. All that. That I think that's always a good way to do a sequel. And then the third movie where it's the final conflict between the good guys, bad guys, Dracula being the big bad and whatnot. But even then, like this Dracula, he was so unintimidating and
for sure
boring. This movie was really boring. I like half hour in, I was like kind of okay with it, and then after that, I was just like, I just didn't enjoy watching this movie. At all.
For sure. Yeah, but that was like my point. They just didn't do enough with Dracula, and if they had done like introduced him in like other movies and then worked it up and actually took care of the character with being Dracula, like the most famous vampire of all, and they just wasted him in a great opportunity. Like it was a great idea to have Dracula be a villain in this movie, but they didn't capitalize on it at all, and they just ruined it. Just a waste.
Yep.
Man, yeah. We pretty much ripped this movie apart already.
Yeah,
pretty quickly too.
We can. I mean, like I said, the visual effects and stuff it wasn't that great. It wasn't terrible.
No,
it felt like an early. I mean,
this was 2004.
Yeah,
and
I feel like
if you think about some of the other movies, I don't think it. I think it should have done more, and I don't know where all their money went. Probably Wesley Snipes is where all the money went.
Probably because like Ryan Reynolds wasn't a huge like star at this time, so
What's her name might have been
Jennifer Gardner.
I don't. No, that's not Jennifer Gardner.
No,
probably Jennifer something though.
She's one of those female actresses that I just get mixed up with others. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is.
Yeah, no, she does look like Jennifer Garner, though. Jessica Biel.
Oh, Jessica
Biel. So she might have been kind of expensive. I don't know.
Maybe. And the explosions.
Yeah. Yeah, they spent, I'm sure, a lot on those
Mm-hmm.
explosions. When they reshoot, well, I mean, when they show you the same explosion about 5, 6, 7, 10 times,
Right.
you know they spent a lot of money on it.
Right.
They really want to make sure you saw it. Yeah.
When you see it. Right.
Like, look at this giant explosion that we spent a lot of money on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
some of the fighting was decent. I didn't mind it. Some, because there were some fight scenes where there was a lot happening, a lot of camera jumps. It was just hard to follow. But like the last scene at the end with Dracula and Blade sword fighting, that was really good. I enjoyed it. Some good action. But other than that, like, there's really not much redeemable about this movie. Like I said, it's really crude. A lot of crude jokes.
Oh yeah.
Inappropriate jokes.
Yeah.
Dumb jokes.
A lot of sexualization.
Like sexual jokes. It was just
vulgarity.
Yeah.
I feel like because there's just with Ryan Reynolds' character and that girl character, there were so many scenes with them together because she was like holding him captive, and just that whole exchange was just with him going right after another crude joke, and then she was vulgar too, and she even made like a comment about basically wishing she was a man.
Yeah, that was weird. I had to like really think through that line. I was like, "What did she just say?" It's like, I mean, you could take it another way, but I was like, "What in the world are you talking about?"
Yeah,
there's just a lot of lines in this movie that just really just took me out of it, and I was like, "This is so dumb." There was really just, for me, like I said, there's not much redeemable about this movie. It is just awful.
No,
there's not really a story. There's not really good characters.
I feel like the only other thing,
maybe some good action, but that's it.
So like there was a Dark Knight of the Soul, which would have been like right before, like he was about to kill Blade, and then that was right when Jessica Biel's character shoots him in the back. Well, shoots him and then he catches the arrow. And then drops the arrow. Then she shoots him again with another arrow. I don't know why he didn't catch that arrow, and he was able to catch the first one.
Right.
That didn't make any sense to me.
Well, yeah. Then Dracula like slowly stabs him. He's not able to stop it. Like, okay, whatever.
And then and then Blade grabs the arrow and stabs him, but.
Oh, that's fine. Blade stabbed him.
Yeah.
But Blade stabbed him.
Yeah.
Like slower than an arrow going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dracula's not able to stop it. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to talk about that ending? So,
apparently
there's an alternate.
Another thing, another technicality that was just so stupid was when she was testing her FPS on her bow. Like she was trying to get like the arrows to go faster and faster, but like that's not how compound bows work. You have to actually adjust them to increase the FPS. You can't just do better each time. No, it's just going to be a constant FPS that's going to stay the same. But she was like trying to like work harder to like get it to go faster each time.
She was trying to unleash her inner girl boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you unlock your inner girl boss, you can outperform any type of equipment or weapon.
Yeah, and she was a very masculine character too, and
she was
definitely no femininity.
Right,
in
and that's
that.
like one thing I was thinking about. It's like as I was watching this film, it's like I was one thing I said is like, wow, there's not any good feminine characters in this movie. Like she's not a good representation of femininity, and I was even thinking like, it's like even her. And how she fights and you know the choices she makes, it's like no, those are masculine things that she's doing.
Yeah,
and it's not feminine. It's not beautiful. It's like, well, no, she's a girl and she's being herself and unlocking or just being a strong woman. It's like, well, no, she's acting like a man. She's doing manly things.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's not beautiful. It's not good. So
yeah.
Anyways,
we can talk about that ending now though.
Yeah, so apparently there's an alternate ending. There's like a extended cut where the ending is different than the movie. So like in the theatrical release, at least as far as I know, because some people have seen the extended version thinking it was the theatrical or something. I'm kind of confused. But anyways, the cut that we saw, Dracula dies and then transforms into Blade, like because he's able to shapeshift. So he shapeshifts into Blade, and then the SWAT team comes in and they find Blade's what looks like Blade's body dead, and so they take him and they take him to go experiment on him, or to see just to, because they're trying to they were trying to extract something from him, or I don't know.
Well, they also wanted him arrested because he's like the guy. Oh yeah, there's that one scene. He was like, "You killed hundreds of people, haven't you?" He's like, "Actually, it was like 2,000."
Yeah, he actually said a way bigger number. It's
like okay. But they wanted him for that, of course. And then I think they were trying to extract him because they had him laid out on a bed to do something what he to
is,
him.
Is he a vampire or whatever. So but then he in the version we saw, he then, when they start testing on him, experimenting on him, he turns into Dracula, and his body's he'd beat up, and he's dead.
Yeah, he dies at that moment.
But he's not Blade. Apparently,
cut. And there's, remember what was it? I don't know if it was Ryan Reynolds speaking again at the end, but whoever was speaking said that. Okay, yeah.
He monologued at the beginning. At the end.
Well, he says that Dracula gave one last gift to Blade, and that was to distract the police from catching Blade. I don't understand why he was giving a gift to him at all, and what the other gifts were. Why was he giving a gift to Blade after he was just trying to kill him? I don't get it.
I don't know, man. Yeah, that was weird.
But yeah.
Anyways, extended cut. Instead of him turning into Dracula, it's Blade's body and his eyes open up and turn yellow like Dracula's eyes, and then he goes and he kills all the doctors in the room, or everyone's experimenting on him, and then the scene switches to Blade on the bike, like we see in the theatrical release, and then he says something, or Ryan Reynolds monologues, and then the movie ends. It was really confusing. So it's so he's alive, but Dracula's also alive, and so he's not gonna have to go hunt down Dracula. But in the theatrical version, Dracula's dead, but in the extended cut, Dracula's alive, to maybe set up a potential fourth movie.
Weird.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think we'll talk a little more about the rest of that in our not movie chronicles. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our mini reviews and our patron only show. So if you want to support us, you can subscribe to that, and we go over the Stan Lee cameos and credit scenes, and we'll go check the IMDb rating of this movie after we rate it, and that'll be a raw reaction. And so you guys can support us there. But Wesley Snipes was being very difficult in filming that scene, so I don't know if you've heard about that. But we'll talk about that in our mini reviews episode. So you can go check that out and support us there. So yeah, do you have anything else you want to say about this movie?
No.
The music was just
the music was really
awful. There's some weird songs,
stuff,
and then just techno
hip-hop
and
I don't know.
It was just very distracting. All over the place.
Yeah.
Just like this whole movie. Very distracting and all over the place.
Pretty much. I guess besides the Superman films and the Batman films, this is the first Marvel trilogy, right?
Yeah.
That's been released up to this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Superman movies and so DC, they did 4 of those, and then Batman, I would say Batman didn't do a trilogy until The Dark Knight,
right?
Because Michael Keaton dropped out of the third film, and I think that was the third one was a reboot, which was
It was a soft.
Batman
It was a
Forever,
soft
or
reboot because I
soft
think
reboot.
the creators considered it a third film, but
Right, but it wasn't Tim Burton. So like
right,
that was the thing.
yeah,
Is Tim Burton did the first two, and
yeah,
then
it's definitely a soft
they went a
reboot though.
completely
Yeah,
different direction for the third film. So I would say this is the first true, besides Superman,
Yeah.
first true
yeah.
like, three.
I mean, they're
theatrical
right in
release
the middle.
superhero
They're right in the
films.
middle of the Spider-Man trilogy because the
Spider-Man,
second one
obviously,
came out
3
right
has not
before
come
this
out yet,
one.
but it's
Yeah,
going to.
yeah,
Anyways, apparently it's hard to do a superhero trilogy
yeah,
because a lot of trilogies just don't know how to do it. And like
Yeah.
I think even like Superman 3, like Superman 1 and 2 are really good, but the third one I'm pretty sure is pretty awful.
Well, speaking about the
Spider, and then we have Spider-Man.
yeah,
Sorry,
about
go
the villains and setting them up for like multiple movies. There's no superhero trilogies that do that. It's always a specific villain for each movie. It's just like I can't think of any
Yeah.
superhero trilogy at all that does that. I mean,
Kind of Spider-Man did that with Harry Osborn, but not really.
right, yeah.
They develop his character
yeah.
in 3 films, and then he's the villain in
Yeah.
the end, and then he's redeemed. But yeah,
I mean, besides like the setup of Thanos, like there just wasn't ever anything planned
Sure, yeah.
or worked out to where you have a villain like in a trilogy
Right.
that's like set up in the first one or like at the end of the first one and then is played out in the next
Mm-hmm.
2 films. It just doesn't happen. But I think it works
Yeah.
when you actually have a plan that far ahead. But I understand the issues of, especially in the beginning of superhero movies, like when they just didn't know what was going to happen, if they were ever going to
yeah.
make
There
another
wasn't very many
movie.
successful superhero movies.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And then the X-Men. So
Oh,
when we were
yeah.
watching Last Stand.
So our next movie is Elektra. So that's Jennifer.
Jennifer. Oh, that's Jennifer Garner.
Yeah, that's Jennifer Garner. I
it?
think.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
so that'll be a fun one. You guys can definitely look forward to us tearing that
So
movie
like, but
apart.
like even X-Men.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay, so
even
yeah,
X-Men,
and then
Last Stand. Another
Man Thing after that,
Another
Fantastic
third.
Four, then
Man
X-Men.
Thing. Okay.
Yeah, Man Thing, that'll be fun.
What awful movies.
You guys are probably like, "What's Man Thing?"
Okay.
Yes, Man Thing is a superhero movie,
Do we have to do
a
that
Marvel superhero movie that did come out in, I think, some theaters.
one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we review Werewolf by Night in like our mini review?
Oh yeah, that'd
that
be
one.
great.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Because Man Thing's in that one, right?
Yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is. So, anyways,
Yeah, he's a prominent
Planning.
character in that.
ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
We should probably wrap this up. But I would say
Well,
the
this is
third film
this is
in
this is
the
our
superhero movie
shortest. This
franchise
is our
just
shortest
doesn't
one
work.
by far.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, we're only like
just like
45 minutes
yeah.
into
Right,
it.
whatever. This movie is so boring. And, well, okay, so like the third movie of a superhero trilogy, like I feel like it fails so many times, like so often. Spider-Man 3, X-Men Last Stand, both not great movies. Another one came to mind. Well, yes, like I said, Superman 3. The Dark Knight Rises was definitely the weakest of the 3.
X-Men
For
Apocalypse.
the Dark Knight trilogy. X-Men Apocalypse. I thought of another one. Iron Man 3 was... Well, no, Iron Man 2 was pretty bad. Iron Man 3 was better, but... So, that's not a good example.
Well, I think Iron Man 3 was... Well, it's considered the worst of the 3.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think the second one.
Really?
Like, very few people like the second one.
I don't know.
I don't. It's been a while since I've seen it. So
Yeah.
there's another superhero trilogy that I'm blanking on that I... Anyways. It's just hard for people to get a trilogy out of superhero movies.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, a lot of it's like expectations are pretty high, and you try to do. They're always trying to do too much. Like Spider-Man 3, they do too much.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that when we watch it, but it's like too many villains.
The Logan trilogy actually
X-Men
did
last-
pretty good, except for the first movie. So it was kind of backwards. It was like
The what?
worse, a little bit better, and really good.
Sorry, the what?
Wolverine
What'd you say?
Logan trilogy. So if you think of X-Men Origins Wolverine,
Oh,
the Wolverine, and then Logan,
I guess that does kind of count as a trilogy.
but it's like
Yeah.
really, really bad, mediocre,
Wolverine's
And then
mediocre.
Logan
really good.
Really good.
Are there others that do that?
I don't know. Oh yeah, we should probably wrap this up. We're just talking about
No, I
trilogies.
know. We're gonna talk about other things besides Blade.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's rank this movie.
Yeah.
Where do you want to put it?
Man, this is like a, I don't know, 2 or 3.
I'm eyeballing like a 3.5 in between Dark Phoenix and Madam Web.
Yeah.
Like camping in that area. Granted, like, is that even fair? I mean, there's not much. Actually, I think I'd put it probably lower.
Yeah. I think this is in the
Madam
2s.
Web. Yeah, you're right. I think this is going to be our first 2.
Yeah.
It's just, better than the Punisher 89. I still personally, well, I still think Madam Web's the worst superhero movie ever. But then again, this one was so bad that I don't. Maybe this one, I don't know. And Howard the Duck, and I don't know. There's once you get in the I would put Madam Web in the 2 range, but you wanted to rank it higher.
I thought the story was redeemable. The production was absolutely the worst production ever. Like, it looked like it was made by a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But
right.
Most of what we
Whatever.
review is story. So
I'll stop beating that dead horse. Anyways,
I think this is just a solid 2.
What do you want to do?
2.0.
You want to do solid 2.
Yeah.
2.022. Let's just do it.
Cool.
Okay.
Blade Trinity.
Point 1 above the Punisher 89.
Yeah. I think
So the only reason they called this Blade Trinity is because of the 3 heroes.
Why did we even give Howard the Duck 1.7? Why wasn't it just 0?
Yeah. Because it had an arc, a story to it. There was
I guess so.
A story told. It's just not well told, and it was full of duck puns.
It's not very surprising that the
Anyways,
top 2 movies on our list are Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. I mean, Blade 6.6. Like, Blade was decent. Blade 2 was a little bit of a step down, but okay. And then this one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Only thing I'd say about Blade Trinity is it sucked.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
that did not land. That
I get it. Yeah.
So anyways,
I get it.
I'll be here
5 minutes later. I get it.
I'm retiring.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for your support. We like doing these movie reviews for you guys, so we hope you continue to enjoy listening, and remember to, watch good movies, glorify God, and just be mindful of what you're consuming. All right. We're out. Bye.
See ya.